has been obsessed with salt. I will ride roller coasters, but I'll scream and cry the entire time. I get very emotional on roller coasters. It's not logical. And if you take me on one as a date, I will break up with you on the ride. And then when it's over, I'll apologize if I even remember saying the things I said. Yeah, they really freak me out. I had something else about food. Oh, I have flings with food. So I'll get really, really, really into something. I'll be obsessed with it. Like a cinnamon crunch cereal. And I'll want it all the time. And a few months ago it was celery with peanut butter. And then just when you've gotten used to it, just when you're like, oh, I know what I'll do to make her smile, I'll fix her a plate of that thing she likes, I will grow bored of it. It's not that I'll never eat it again. I'll come back to it eventually, but never with the same level of fixation. It's not like I make myself sick of the food in question. I will return to it, but never again as fixatedly. I think that's a family trait because both my mother and her brother, without conferring, without it being planned at all, they both got really, really, really into carrots, eating baby carrots by the bag, and they both had to stop because they turned yellow. And I only found out a few years ago. I told my aunt the story, or I told my aunt and uncle the story, and they were like, oh my gosh, your uncle did that too. So, put that down as a case for nature. good for me. Like, I got myself these protein shakes, and I was really disappointed. The aftertaste was terrible, and I'd spent all this money on them. So you'd think, especially with a liquid, you could just, chug it. And I can when push comes to shove, but I'm a real baby about it. I was the same way with my vitamins growing up. I hated them, and I was just a nightmare to get to eat them. But it was weird because, again, I wasn't picky with food. My dad actually used to call me Sharky because I would try anything. Like, we'd go to other countries and whatever he put in front of me, even if it was like squid, which now makes me sad, but a 4-year-old being like, oh, what is it? Oh, okay, I'll try that. He was always really proud because I was willing to try absolutely anything. Things that my siblings who were older than me were not. So yeah, he called me Sharky, 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 but the exception is if I really don't like something. Once I've realized that I don't like something, I'm a tough sell. And speaking of foods about which I'm a baby, melted cheese gives me the heebie-jeebies. And it's not about it being dairy. It's not related to the ethics of veganism. This predates all that for me. If there was too much cheese on my pizza, or if someone had a string or a strand of cheese stretching out of their mouth. And to this day, even if it's a non-dairy cheese, if it does something similar with its texture, or there's just too much of it, I get super freaked out. I mean, I loved hard cheeses when I was not a vegan. I loved like a sharp cheddar or a Parmesan or a Gouda. Hold up. But melted cheeses really freaked me out. So much so that I didn't have a grilled cheese sandwich until I was at least 18. I also didn't have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich until I was 18 because the texture of the jelly freaked me out, and I didn't have bananas again until I was 18. If you're wondering why it was always 18, it's because everyone tries things in college. I can't really do it while I'm talking, so I just have to do it at different intervals. I flick people off too much in traffic. It's really childish, and I'm working on it. I just get really, really annoyed by entitled drivers. I have a terrible pencil/pen grip. Look at that. I played the cello for a while growing up, and people started assuming they were related because this is how you hold a cello bow. But that's actually bullshit. It's completely unrelated. My parents called it the claw. So I'll write like this. It's terrible. I know how to hold the pencil the right way. I just always was too stubborn. I learned the correct way just to get my teachers off my back and my parents. It means I'm constantly brushing out my hair, and when I'm in the car, I'm constantly pulling hairs off myself and putting them out the window. And the rest of the time when I'm not in the car, I'm balling them up and throwing them out. I think at this point, it's safe to say that the hairs bother me way more than they would bother anyone else. It's become an obsession, tracking them down and disposing of them. exhaust myself. I really struggle to rest. I grew up in a household that kind of moralized rest, so I really struggle to just sit still. I struggle to sleep in, and I tend to overextend myself a lot. I'm stressed out most of the time, and I always have a to-do list to which I'm constantly adding and from which I'm constantly crossing off in my head. Oh yeah, I can be very self-withholding. I live in a lot of ways like a teenager, but only when it pertains to nourishing, nourishing myself. I will make my bed every day and I will shower every day and all those things, but sometimes I'll forget to eat, and sometimes I'll just spend the whole day scrounging. So I'll eat like a pickle and an ice cream bar and like some chickpeas, and like a tortilla with sriracha on it. And I won't drink enough water, and I won't get enough sleep, even though sleep for me is really important to my outlook in general. I see the world more optimistically when I've gotten enough sleep, so that's true for everyone, but I'm definitely sensitive to lack of sleep, and the best way for me to get consistent mental health, I treat sleep like medication for my mental health, and I know that I need it, and I know that my outlook is so much better. Like, all my issues practically go away when I am well rested, which is a really lucky thing. That is not true for everyone, that sleep alone makes such a difference, but for me it does. And still sometimes I won't get enough sleep. I won't drink water for days at a time for no good reason. I won't take my B12, ridiculous things like that, and I'm really self-withholding with pills. I have no problem with flip side of that, sorry the cars are so loud, but the flip side of caring a lot is, I can definitely fall into nihilism if I get really, 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 if I am disillusioned, I can definitely fall into nihilism. It's funny how those are flip sides of each other, but I have a saying that sounds very pretentious. I don't have a lot of sayings, but one thing I do believe is that nihilism is just idealism with a broken heart. The sirens are so loud. Nihilism is just idealism with a broken heart. And if you think about it, they both are very black and white ways of thinking. And my goal in life is to be less of a black and white thinker. Less